Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's 1:05. It's just me and Roger so far. So we're going to get going and we're going to record this because I know Roger's got some strong views about this meeting and proceeding forward. But before we do that, it's always good to do an alignment, no matter how many people are here. And I always find it very powerful just to take a minute or two to fully land in the space, especially having been rushing around this morning and getting everything that I needed to do done. So just to fully land in the space, to unfold, put both feet flat on the floor, straighten our spine, and just take 3 long, deep breaths in through the nose and blowing out slowly over the bottom lip. And that's just to calm the nervous system. It is the easiest and fastest way to calm the nervous system, to use the breath in that way. And just to fully land in the space, so to come out of this morning, come out of this afternoon, and to be fully present in the present moment where all of the power is. I should just mention, I was driving this week, and just before I got to this place on this country lane, a crash had happened. So I got out of the car to check that everyone was all right. And there were a few people already in attendance. And there was an elderly husband and wife in the car, and the side of their car had been ripped off by a scaffolding lorry. And she was in absolute state of nervous shock, shaking and like shallow breathing. And so I said to her, okay, we're going to get an ambulance to you. But for now, it will really help if you just breathe deeply. And so I was just standing with her and just like helping her to do that breath, or like showing her, but she literally couldn't do it. Her frontal cortex of her mind was completely closed down. And this is what happens when we're in activation. We lose access to the frontal cortex of our brain, which is why it's really important with any kind of meeting, and when you're wanting to access a higher power, that it really helps to calm the nervous system, because you get full access to the full extent of your ability to contemplate and to receive divine guidance. So maybe I've never explained that before, because I do notice when I watch the recordings back how many people kind of roll their eyeballs and sort of don't really pay attention when we do these alignments. And I would just want to stress how powerful they are. And the other thing I said in the email, which was the invitation to this, is that to me, and one thing that I have learned through years of holding workshops and events and groups and mentoring, that attachment to numbers is one of the programs of the patriarchy. There's this idea that if it's not big, it's not powerful. But I want to suggest the opposite thing, is that small groups are incredibly powerful. One acorn contains an entire forest. Nature is showing us this. A tiny poppy seed has got the whole of the intelligence for an entire plant. So small groups are very powerful. So I feel it's poignant that Roger's here with me. And I know, Roger, you had some strong views about today's meeting, which I couldn't, I wasn't in a position to reply to by text, because I don't take my phone when I go out walking. So
I understand.
So anyway, so I'm going to hand over to you, Roger, so that you can express.
Well, regarding today, I did want Yogi to join because I think he's got some good ideas. That's only my opinion. and obviously it's the yogi's opinion too. But I would like to get him involved because he's a very valuable asset. You know, I mean, he's got a lot of experience with IT and marketing. I know you have too, but it doesn't harm to have somebody else as well. To augment. So yeah, so I was concerned about that. Now, but looking at the bigger picture, I think we are in an absolutely desperate situation. In other words, we've got to be prepared to look after our own services in our own council areas ourselves, because I think the system is going down. I think the WEF is not a clever bunch of people. They're just going to destroy the whole of the infrastructure, which we require, we depend upon to get wastage disposal, police services, road maintenance, blah, blah, blah. And it's my idea that we should somehow think of a way that we can replace our local council's services. I know we can't come up with ideas overnight. It's got to be well thought out. And, I would suggest we could have a separate Zoom meeting to discuss that. But I really do think that we've got to be prepared to take over. That's my opinion. I don't know what do you think?
So just a couple of things, Roger, just going back to the first point you made about Yogi, and because I think is it called freedomtribe.net or something like that?
That's it.
How much traction has Freedom Tribe got? How many members, how many signups, how many? I just wondered how much sort of UK coverage he has got into, I know I was saying that the size and numbers don't matter, but I'm just interested to know what UK coverage he has got.
Yeah, well, I would reiterate what you said, about numbers don't matter, because Yogi is just a very willing patriot who wants to help and join in the effort. And it's not so much a number of members he's got; he's only got 2,000. It's
Well,
really
that's a lot. I would say that's a lot, actually.
well, he's got 2,000, and he's got the facility to be able to email them in one go, and
Yeah.
and of course, together with the amount that you've got, because I think you've got 15,000, haven't you?
Yeah. There's 20,000 on my main database, but they're not all freedom people, movement people.
Anyhow, you've got a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So combined, he would be willing to, what can we say, promote the expansion of the membership of our group. So I just think that he has, potentially got ideas to do that. And
Yeah.
so that's why I thought it would be a good idea for him to participate.
So just to mention on that point, at the moment on the website, there is no facility for people to become a member now of the Love Party because it doesn't exist at that level. And since we had our bank account closed down, I know we have got a temporary stopgap, but it's not ideal. And so for now, I've removed that from the site. Now I did put that into the Beacons group, and no one has really fed back. So it is what it is right now. We can reinstate that, but my feeling is, and this is the strategy that was kind of agreed, was to devolve everything to local level, so that local candidates would have their own fundraising initiatives.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah. So on the second point, Roger, about local services, it's quite interesting because obviously we've bought this land at Crestbrook Dale, which has got no services on it. It's got there's no electricity, there's no sewage, so to speak. There's no sewage system. There is natural water. There's a lot of wood, and so it's really interesting to, like, when you're on that land, and we have got a security guy there. You know, how does he manage all of these things? So it's been quite an interesting exercise to witness how, because he's used to living on the land. He's basically a woodsman and a farm hand, and all of the kind of workarounds that he has used to set up his camp. So basically, I'm not saying this is environmentally friendly, but he burns all the rubbish. And I make a point of, when I take him stuff, I always take it in paper bags, never plastic bags, for that reason, because I know he's going to burn it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, that's a good idea.
yeah, so he uses the paper to light the fire, and if there is any plastic, he will burn it, which is it's not ideal. But that's what they do in Egypt, for example. They burn rubbish, and in fact, actually, in truth, that is what our councils do, as I understand it. They ship our waste. They either landfill it or they ship it out to somewhere like Singapore, where it's incinerated in a controlled way, you know. So unless unless it can be recycled in some way. So so what I guess I'm saying is that, and I know not everyone is in this position, but the very fact that we've got a council that just comes and collects waste, just to use that as one example, the very fact that we've got a council that comes and collects our wheelie bin, it kind of, you get very lazy because you just throw stuff in the bin. Whereas when you've got to deal with your own waste, you're suddenly really connected into how much waste you're creating. And you start getting really mindful about how can I create less waste. So a big example of this is fruit and veg, because if I go to Aldi and I go and get strawberries and, you know, some chicken slices for my son, for example, I've then got all of these plastic punnets and plastic
Yeah, I know.
which I put in the recycling. Whereas when you forage and you pick from a bush, like your strawberries, you literally straight from, you know, the bush to your mouth, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a reinvention and a relearning of how to live when you live on land. And it's kind of like a rewilding that happens when you start considering how to deal with all of these things. Just wanted to mention that because it's been fascinating to witness that. And of course, in terms of energy, in the end, we bought a generator for him, which uses petrol. But in an ideal world, we would probably have a little wind turbine or solar panels or something like that, so that we don't have to, basically, so it's free, abundant energy. And I know that John, who's part of our community, is really interested in Tesla magnetic. We haven't got one, but he's very interested in it, and it's something we're looking at, because these Tesla engines that use magnets, I don't know if you've seen them, where basically they have a spinning component and a casing, and they're all North Pole. So the north end of the magnets are facing one another, so they repel. So essentially, because the repel, when they're positioned, the north poles of the magnets repel one another and spin the inside, and you get constant free electricity out of the ether, basically. Because it's quite fascinating. So all
Well,
of
it
this,
is fascinating, isn't it?
yeah,
And I mean, the cabal have just kept this hidden from us.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah,
Because capitalism depends on scarcity. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when you start working in harmony with nature and you harness the magnetic force of the earth and the wind and the sun and hydropower, and you grow your own vegetables or you learn to forage, suddenly realize, oh my God, like at the nth degree of that, you get to a point where once you've got your infrastructure in place, I don't actually need to buy that much because I've got natural running water. I've got dry toilets, self-composting toilets. I'm using free electric energy from the wind and the solar. I've got all of my food growing around me and I'm eating to the season. So I'm eating in harmony with the seasons.
Mm.
So you get to a point where this is the nirvana point where you like, oh my God, I don't actually need to go to the supermarket anymore, or minimally, you know. So
Still
all
got to get the wine.
still, well, this is the thing, people still, they make their own wine, don't they?
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
I've done it
can
myself.
you can actually, it's quite easy, isn't it, to distill your own hooch. It's
Well,
basically
it's not easy to distill, but it's easy to ferment.
ferment, that's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah. I thought you
I've
meant
never
that.
done that, but I know people have done that, and it is possible, isn't it, that you do that. So
Absolutely.
uh, and
So that can be
make your
done.
own
Yeah,
wine, make your own
and
wine
beer.
or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
and beer.
and beer, yeah, and so it's a very interesting thing because all these things you then start to unplug from this program that we need, that we even need a local council, you know, because it's like, why would you need that if you can organize yourself? And obviously you don't need to pay, why would you need to pay anyone any taxes to do that for you? And in that system where you've got communities bartering or exchanging goods, there's no there's no tax kind of thing because there's no currency involved if you're sharing and co-creating as a community. So
Yeah,
it's fascinating because it basically is, it's kind of like uninstalling this mind program of the system which says you've got to have this and you've got to have that and you've got to have a local council, you've got to have a government to organize everything. So it's kind of like a return to pre-industrial revolution, I guess. I'm not saying that things like digital uh, aren't necessary, but it is possible to live like that for sure.
yeah. Well, I'm with you on that. Absolutely. And I really do think that by necessity we're going to have to go back to that.
Well, it's my feeling is that because we're questioning, this is the point, everyone's starting to question the system, whereas before we were just in the program and we just operated the system and we just went along with it. So the fact that we're questioning the system, just that alone is a massive leap forward, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you open that link that I sent this morning onto beacons? You probably didn't. You won't have had
No,
time.
I didn't have time because my mornings are quite busy with one thing or another, and then I tend to have I do things in the afternoon.
Yeah. So anyway, you can look at it later, but it's just something by a man called Dane Wigington, being interviewed by Robert Kennedy.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm
But
looking at it.
yeah, they're talking about geoengineering, which
Okay,
I'm sure that you've been monitoring yourself for years, as I have. You know, I've been
you mean
looking
like
at
chemtrails?
chemtrails. Yeah, I've been watching those for years,
Yeah.
and there was a period actually when Trump got in, that they did stop. So it seemed to me, I mean, I've been watching this quite closely, but it seemed to me it did have some effect on it, because they did stop for a few months.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch that interview, you'll find that, or you'll learn that humanity is facing an existential threat.
Environmental.
I will watch that because I normally tend to watch long interviews like that, like when I cook dinner. So I will save that up for this evening's meal cooking, and I will watch it later. So thank you for posting that, Roger. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Yes, humanity is facing an existential threat on one side, but on the other side of things, to balance that out, there is a huge awakening of consciousness, which is what it's doing is it's essentially causing the veil to thin, in my observation. So the veil is thinning, and what that means is the veil of illusion that lies beyond the pure love realm, the pure lands of pure love light, and the 3D the 3D reality, which is locked in by the false matrix. So what's happening is, as the veil is thinning, that more and more light is flooding the false matrix, and the Wetiko cannot exist. It needs darkness and shadows to lurk in. So what's happening is the Wetiko is being drawn out into the light, and we're starting to see it all. And it's got no place to hide. Increasingly, it's like spiders in your house. They need dark corners to live in, or mice, it's that kind of thing. So the more that we flood the labyrinth with light, the less power the Wetiko has. And my observation, or what my belief and many others' belief, is that we will reach a tipping point where there's a quantum leap in evolution, where suddenly everyone wakes up and it's like, oh my God. And at that point, it's like a quantum leap in evolution, where we reach the next level of humanity and consciousness. And the labyrinth is so flooded with light that the old just falls away. So that's my feeling on what is happening, and many others. That's what's happening right now, and it's exciting. So I don't tend to look at the doom and gloom scenario. I tend to hold this vision of this alternative future reality that so many people are co-creating now. And it doesn't need all 8 billion people on the planet. It just is a 100th monkey syndrome. So, when the 100 monkeys get it, there's a that it's like all the monkeys get it. It's 100th monkey syndrome. I'm not saying it needs 100 people, but it doesn't take all 8 billion people to get it, just a small critical mass, and maybe 15%. I would say 15% is the tipping point for most things. When things reach 15%, everyone gets it.
This is Rupert Sheldrake's teaching, isn't it? The 100 monkeys thing, and I go along with that.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about that. I think it was a scientific analysis, wasn't it?
It was done on an island.
Yeah, that's right. But a lot of people quote it, and Rupert Sheldrake is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's he calls it morphic resonance.
Yes.
So that's really what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So everything is connected by an invisible field, and that is a unity consciousness. And by working with the field, this is why metaphysics is so powerful, because you're not trying to rearrange 3D reality. You're working with the field, which is invisible, which lies beyond the 3D material realm reality, for want of a better word, and you're making the shift energetically in the field. So then it manifests into reality very effortlessly and easily. And that is essentially the mystery school teachings. Now, the Masons and all of the secret societies have been using metaphysical principles forever to lock down power, right from the Egyptians. That's why they built the pyramids and all of these resonance chambers. And they were masters of metaphysics. And so the Freemasons copied the Solomon's Temple as a copy of Egyptian temples. So it's this trying to rearrange 3D reality is hard work. Whereas if you create ways to shift the consciousness through metaphysical magic, ceremonial white magic, you might call it, that's very powerful, which is why when it comes to our event, I'm so keen to use somewhere like a church, which will be built on a PowerPoint, and to use harmonic resonance, to sit in circle, to create a torus field of energy, and to put powerful intentions into that field, because it's like throwing a pebble into a lake. The ripples go out and magic starts to manifest, because intention and vision and resonance and sound are all super powerful tools in the toolbox of magical manifestation. So,
well, I would put it more like natural law.
well, exactly. This is the thing. You might call that natural law. So, but all of these base principles which the universe is founded on. Now, of course, the false matrix has hijacked all of that and created this reality and education systems which are all science-based. It's like, I'll believe it when I see it, but the truth is I'll see it when I believe it. So they create children who grow into adults who are very in the mind, scientific, don't believe in magic, feel you have to, the mantra is you've got to work hard to be successful. And none of these things are true fundamentally.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, the way that we've all been programmed and sort of duped.
Well, the foundational problem that we've got is that the satanic system has taken over all the land. You know, if we had enough land, all of us, to build our own homes and grow our own food and do whatever else we need, the space, you know, we wouldn't be going through this. We'd be completely self-sufficient and not reliant upon this perverse system. That's the base problem, is land.
Well, that's why so many people have been buying land, isn't it? And there are lots of communities who bought land. I mean, if I think of, for example, Crestbrook Dale, sorry to keep harking on about it, but there's 73 acres there. And if I look at Bakewell, for example, if I look at 73 acres of Bakewell, there's probably, I don't know, 8,000 people living on 73 acres, more living on 73 acres of Bakewell. So it's quite incredible when you look at how many people live on tiny. Look at a housing estate, for example. When Julie and I went with Julie to do the leafleting in Mansfield, to look at how many homes, like where we went to the sort of council houses, and how many homes they managed to squeeze in onto maybe a few acres of land. It's just like, wow. You know, like maybe we delivered like 500 leaflets or something crazy in just a couple of acres.
Mm.
So we don't actually necessarily need that much land, you know.
No, I didn't say we needed vast quantities, just enough to build a home and produce our own food.
Yeah, but I mean, most people already do live in a home, don't they? So it is a case of a kind of reorganization. And I think this is what Lynn is quite hot on, this idea of like coming back into community, because and again, it's something you really notice when you go leafleting. You really notice it, how every person has created their own little empire, their own little castle. So their own front gate and their own front path and their own flower bed and their own little empire. They've created their own little safe space. And typically it's completely self-contained. So every driveway, there's a car or two cars, and there's a front door. And I'm sure if you were to go into every house, there's a kettle and a toaster and a microwave and a washing machine and a Hoover. And so this is what has been created for us. And a TV, and everyone's got the same set of all of these things. Whereas if you're in a community setting, say someone like Findhorn, for example, you would be arranged where you've got everyone living, and then you've got basically a kind of laundry area where all the machines are shared. And so not everyone needs to have a washing machine, for example. So we have to bear in mind that the whole of this setup has been created by capitalism, and those forces that want everyone to have their own kettle and toaster and washing machine. It's huge markets. These things are huge markets. And so the entire way that society has been constructed to break it down into these little units where everything is self-contained, it's kind of diametrically opposed to tribal living. And tribal living, if you look at the way that the shamans live, the tribes up in the mountains of Peru, where everyone's got their own living quarters, but they're organized as a community. So they have gatherings and they eat together, and they support one another working, and they have sort of cooperatives. So it's a completely different way of organizing, a bit like in a local village, for example. So it's a kind of reinvention and revisioning of how we live. And I think that's what so many people are trying to do with communities. It's like, how could we create a different way of living, which is much more supportive, and where you've got a group of people who support one another and love one another and are there for one another. Now that again is nirvana thinking, because I know from having attempted to create a community just how divisive things can get. And again, that is because those programs have been embedded in us by society. So there's a huge amount of programming that needs to be unpicked and uninstalled, in my observation, where because in true unity consciousness, it's like everyone gets looked after because everyone is an aspect of everyone else. So even difficult people who really piss you off, they tend to be an aspect of your shadow. Are you still there, Roger? Are you still there? Has he left? Roger, you're back. You're muted as well.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, Yogi just called me, so I just I didn't want to block the call. I had to just say hello.
Well, do you? I mean, given we've talked about him and you were suggesting he come on the call, do you want to invite him? Do you want him to come on and pop on and explain how he feels he can help?
It's just his ideas. He's a very clever man.
Would you want to invite him on? Because given there's 20 minutes left and there's just us two, why don't you invite him on and let him come and talk about what he feels he can offer?
Okay, I'll call him now. Will I have to close the meeting?
No. So basically, if you give him the phone him now and you can read it out to him.
I don't know how to phone him while keeping you on the Zoom.
Are you using Zoom on your laptop, Roger?
No, I'm using it on my phone. I can go to my laptop.
I'm just looking to see if I've got him in my phone. So if you phone him,
Which means I'll have to exit Zoom, won't I?
are you using Zoom on your phone?
Yeah.
All right. So all he needs is the meeting number and the passcode.
Yeah. So I've got that, which I could forward to him, but I don't know how to do that while keeping you on the, on the Zoom.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll pause the recording then and wait for you to do that. Okay.
I'll call him now. Okay. So
All right.
it means that I'm going to have to exit, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exit and then come back in, and I'll pause the recording.
Okay.
Hi, Yogi. Hi, Roger. I've started
Hi,
recording again.
okay, how you doing?
Can you come on the
Can you hear me?
video?
Yeah, 1 second. Let's start the video. Okay, there we are.
Hi, Yogi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good. So strictly, this is a meeting for the candidates of the Love Party, but as all bets are off currently with changing strategy, so I suggested to Roger that he bring you on, and he said you have some ideas on this this idea of the kind of love movement, freedom movement of
Right.
inspiring candidates to stand as independents all over the UK, basically to return the power to the people. So people who are aligned to the freedom movement values of liberation, opportunity, vitality, and empowerment.
Yeah.
And all of those groups that are already in existence, all of the Stand in the Parks, the Freedom Hubs, the community assemblies, everyone who's already, all of these fragmented groups that are already in place, how they could all come together and support a whole movement that could stand people as independents and return the power to the people, and awaken the sleeping masses of the electorate, the lost electorate that won't vote at the moment because they don't believe in the current political system, because that's kind of 60 to 70% of the electorate don't bother to vote now. So we figure if we could reawaken them, we actually, the whole of the general election could, the next general election 2024 could sweep away all of the existing political parties overnight. It literally could. There is the potential there for that to happen.
Yeah. There's always potential. I think it's as you kind of know, about the right action, I guess, whatever the right action happens to be in that respect, and using everything in our power, to be able to make it happen, really. Is anybody else expected on the call as well?
It's just us at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
So I know I've just thrown you the deep end a bit because you don't really know where we're at the moment.
No, I don't. Yeah.
I'm recording this for the rest of the people, by the way. Not everyone shows up on every meeting, put it like that.
No, of course not.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so we're not waiting for anybody or anything.
No.
Okay, fine. So in terms of, what you're currently doing, I don't know where, the love movement is at in that way. And it seems as though you're still perhaps trying to go down the kind of political route a little bit, perhaps in that sense. But what tools do you have and require? And obviously, my projects in the sense of Freedom Tribe and the bumper stickers and things like that, whether they are something that can help you in that respect to spread the message, widen the reach, there's two sides, as you know from my previous communication with yourself. There's two sides to it. There's awakened people already that can take the right action to awaken everybody else. Of course, if they don't do anything, then it's not going to happen. But what is that right action? That's the important thing. Is it what we're doing now, which is sharing things on Telegram and sharing things on Facebook and all that kind of stuff? Or can we be more strategic in how we share that information on Telegram and Facebook and things? Because I don't know if you actually ever went to the Freedom Tribe website and watched the video, the promo video on the website, which tells the efficiency of using Freedom Tribe as a communication tool for the freedom movement, or for the love movement in that sense. Because there's a call to action section which is like very dedicated just for call to actions, but it doesn't really work if people are disjointed and on loads of different platforms. So there's no harm in having people on different platforms, because you need that to get to the masses. You need that to get to all your friends and your family and all the rest of it. But what is missing is the strategic approach of having a central platform where, say, for example, you wanted to put a message out, you wanted to put something out to the normies, you want to put a meme out, maybe it's a meme or something that you think is a good one, worth sharing with 50 million people in the UK. So how would you do that? If you just post it in your Telegram group, all you're going to get is, you might say, can you share this with your friends, or on your Facebook or your Telegram or your Instagram? And how can you measure that? As a marketing mindset, how can you measure that? How do you know how many people are going to see it? How do you know how many people posted it? First of all, you have no clue really. So if you set it on Telegram, only people scrolling on your feed is going to probably see it, and only a few of those people are going to act on it as well. So there's absolutely a waste of time really in that sense to get results, because you can't measure anything. So with my platform, I'll play the video because that may help you to see where it's coming from. But in terms of the call to action section, imagine you had 1 million people on it, like all the movement people. If everybody was on it, now if Rachel wanted to put a message out with a meme or something and post it on a Sunday evening, so that on Monday, everybody who's going through their Facebook feed will see it, then you could kind of tell them or ask everybody, do this action, put this meme on your Facebook story or Instagram story, all of them actually, on Sunday evening. So everybody on Monday will be getting it's like a letter drop through your door. Everybody will see it on Monday morning. So if 1 million people did that, at least 20 or 30 of your friends who go on Facebook the next day or the next couple of days are gonna see that message. Whether it's common law, whether it's vaccines, whether it's any other topic that we want to make people aware of, the WEF and all the rest of it, sovereignty and all these things, constitution, all these things. You could literally do every Sunday evening, this one action for everybody to do it properly. And suddenly you got a letter drop happening every single day or every single week, to the masses, because your friends will you have to ask questions and all that kind of stuff. As you know from marketing, it's like, do you know the law is being broken? Do you know we have a tyrannical government? Do you know we have, all these things to provoke people to understand what's going on, first of all. I just had an interesting conversation just now with the HMRC representative. I just phoned, I had a call from their collection company that they, farm out the collection of taxes to. So basically the lady was doing a job, but I said, oh, well, yeah, I'm happy to put my money in a trust. And, until the government stops doing its tyranny, breaking the law and being a terrorist, abroad and everywhere else. So I explained everything. I shared the, Richard Vogue's channel. I shared Common Law Constitution, Will's thing, Democracy Defined website, on a call with this person for about an hour. I spoke to her and said all the things that are going on. regards to the tyranny. So
What did she say?
just sharing, she listened, the call's being recorded, so that's great, so I didn't record it. I recorded 5 minutes, the end 5 minutes. But so she listened, she learned a lot, I think, from all the information I shared. She understood what I was saying, that the money going to Ukraine is not really helping anybody, in the sense of like it's our tax money that I'm paying now and you're paying. And I said that it's illegal to actually take, it's unlawful and illegal to take taxes directly at source as well. Like she's probably just a wage, a normal person being employed. So that is illegal. Taxation is only by consent as well. So all these things. So I shared all this information with her. So we ended with a, solution, not solution, but their solution. It's like, okay, they're going to send the paperwork back to HMRC. And I said, I will write to HMRC and tell them about me putting the money in a trust. And then I will pay that money when the government has rectified its behavior.
Interesting to see what happens on that front.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the marketing of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that action that I just shared. Now, if there were 1 million people or 2 million people on Freedom Tribe, and that conveyed that message from yourself or from somebody who's, Chris Coverdale, or whoever is got a good action to take to leverage, because that's what we're missing. We don't have leverage of anything. We don't have leverage of the media. We don't have leverage of the resources that the government has. We don't have leverage of the police. We don't have leverage of the military or anything. We don't have leverage of technology. So that's what the Freedom Tribe provides. It provides leverage to get a message out to all the freedom people in a very efficient way to, basically push out other messages, in an efficient way.
Yeah. So just to mention, because obviously you haven't been sort of privy to discussions up to now, but we're feeling that that the solution is not digital.
Yeah.
That is people locally
okay, sorry. Yeah.
meeting, which is already happening. Local groups of people meeting face to face, which is beyond digital, because of the power of human to human contact. And I just know from my sort of marketing past, because having created a market leading multi-million turnover brand, but purely analog, before mobile phones, even purely through word of mouth. So I know how powerful and possible that is to do it. Now, obviously, when you put digital into that mix, that's even more powerful, but it can be done. It doesn't have to rely on digital. Now, one of the big challenges of the whole digital, hold on, that's my front door, sorry. I haven't sorted the bed out yet.
Have you got any money to get back up?
Yeah, in my I'll get you some. It's in this little bag.
All right, cheers.
There's some cash in there. Sorry about that, my son just got back unexpectedly. Yeah, so the idea to tap into all of the people who are already meeting locally to corral what's already happening on the ground, because essentially what you really want is local groups within each constituency who can then form a kind of campaign group. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be online, is what I'm saying. Oh, I think what I was also saying was that one of the big challenges, I think, in the freedom movement and a big resistance is people putting their data into a system.
Yeah.
Because there's a feeling of vulnerability, because the minute everyone's suddenly identifiable or knows where everyone is. And
yeah. But when you're on technology, or when you know about technology, you would realize that every platform you're on at the moment is, monitored, and they know exactly where you are because they use your phone number anyway, right? When you get on Telegram, they use your Telegram. So the
unplugging from digital has to be. I mean, we are headed into a
Hmm.
transhumanist AI, complete digital controlled nightmare. So to me, the solution has to, it's not optional, it has to be analog. Because
so stop using Telegram. Stop using Telegram. Stop using Facebook now.
I've stopped using Facebook. I've stopped using Twitter. I'm incredibly cut down on Telegram, and most of my activity is now on face-to-face human meetings and real life situations.
It shouldn't be a this or that, really, in my opinion. It should be like, use all the tools you can to your advantage. That's the leverage you have. Unless you can get 1 million people to go next door to each other or on their own street, for example, and knock on their door, on your neighbor's doors, 100 people in your street. Well, that's what you want, really, ultimately, right?
Well, that's typically how campaigning is done locally, isn't it? That you go out on the street and you speak to people, and you
But do you know what the rate is? I'm just going to ask you that question because if you've done campaigning, you know how many people you got through to in a night. Let's say when you knocked on 50 doors. Let's say you knocked on 50 doors. How many people opened the doors, and how many people you had a conversation with? How much time that took?
Not just talking about leafleting, but I do personally know the power of word of mouth and having.
There is a power. I don't doubt it. I mean, best marketing firms are network marketing, but the thing is, of course, that's one way of doing it. But right now you've got obviously multimedia and digital and all that kind of stuff to share a message very quickly, without 2 seconds. If it was a call to action of some sort, how else are you going to get that message out? How do you do a petition? How do you do a government petition that's for 5G or this or that or whatever? What are you going to do? Go and knock on everybody's doors? That's the question.
Do government petitions work? I don't think so.
Well, they don't work because the numbers aren't there. But let me play the video, and then you can decide whether or not it makes sense. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. That's fine. If I'm able to share the screen, I can just play the Freedom Tribe video. It's a 2-minute promo video, which you may have not have seen probably.
Yeah, I'll just, I think you should be able to do it now.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. Okay, hopefully you can hear the sound as well. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Can you see the green screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully the sound is going to work. Otherwise, I'll play it and see if you can tell me if the sound works.
Not yet.
You can't hear the sound?
No.
Okay, all right. I think the settings need to be adjusted from the more share sound. Okay, here we are. Okay, it should work now.
Would you agree there's a difference between the freedom mindset and others? What if there was an easy way to build community and scale activism to protect your rights and liberty? Freedom Tribe is an app and tool for the awakened lions to get organized that believe in truth, freedom, and real science. It is social network meets activism. Since 2020, a large minority has become aware of what the priorities in life are and the need to preserve them. We want activism to be easy and effective. Most of all, it's about results. Freedom Tribe is more than a directory for businesses, events, B&Bs and natural health service listings, although we welcome you to add yours. What if today's 4 or 5 million lions built their economy and did activism on scale, online and offline when there is a need to? Connect and message others near you on the Freedom Neighbor map and build community. The Children's Jab Rollout Petition by Dr. Ros Jones in 2021 only got 74,000 signatures. Why is that? Our solution is a call to action page where an organized, coordinated pushback on scale with other lions can be done quickly. Everything in one place. Get notified too, or simply check things once a week to keep up to date. What impact could millions of signatures and actions have compared to 74,000? These protests from home can provide a psychological pushback when numbers matter. Consistency is key. Let's share and empower others with the Common Law Resources page. The usual apps we know are not built for activism, where things get easily scroll lost, not to mention the censorship. It's time to get organized. Join Freedom Tribe today for free and learn about our bigger goals to support freedom projects. Freedom Tribe. Freedom together.
Okay.
Brilliant.
That's it. Yeah. So, you know, there's advantages to using technology. It's how you use it, really. The fact is, we're going to be all digitally enslaved anyway. So unless you can open a bank account, you can't do anything else. So, you know, there's got to be campaigning on all these fronts where it's like a right, should be our right to have a bank account, should be our right to do certain things. So,
well, this is one of the things that Roger suggested about creating a kind of charter, a constitution, like a we the people, listing our rights and including things like that: the right for a bank account, the right to freedom of speech, the right for bodily autonomy, the right to for a trial by jury, and all these things. How can
that's
I get
very good.
back? How can I get this back to?
I stop share.
Yeah.
There we are.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Yogi.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for playing that. So basically what you're saying is we could use your Freedom Tribe app to corral the whole movement in, well, you're already that's your the intention. So in terms of corralling possible candidates to stand as independents in the next general election, we could use your app and the functionality to
because if you have everybody, at least say they had a million people in the freedom movement, you know, and then that way you actually can see one thing I didn't share. Sorry, let me see if I can share it again. I'm going to just share the actual app itself, Rachel, because then that will give you an idea of the actual functionality as well.
I take it it's free to download, right?
Yeah, it's a web app, so people are concerned about being tracked and things like that. They don't have to be, because it's a web app, so you don't have tracking on web apps normally. So it's safer.
Does that mean I can't get it on my mobile phone?
So yes, what you do is you go to the website on your browser, and then you basically join, or rather, you know, log in from the browser, and then you can add it to your home screen from there.
So it's not on iPhone or smartphone, basically.
No, it's not on a smartphone. Yeah, so it's on a smartphone. You can do it, but it's done as a browser, so it's a different technology. So it's a different technology that's used. It's called a web app.
Is there a reason for that, Yogi?
Yeah. So one of the reasons is cost of developing the app. So it's cheaper for myself, and also because tracking-wise, it's more secure because it's done on the browser. It's not done on the app.
Okay.
Native app. So, you know, it's called a native app. The ones that are like, you know, downloaded onto thing, but you have like hybrid technologies and all these kind of things as well. So basically, I've actually just submitted the app to the Android store, Play Store. So it will be downloadable, but all it is just a wrapper around the website. So it's not actually it's not a separate app. So it just kind of wraps it around the website. You can download it very easily. So it's easier for people to be able to, you know, do it, as in, otherwise, they have to go to the website, do this, do that, and so on. Whereas now they'll be able to go to the Play Store, download it, and it's on the phone, but it's a web app. So it doesn't track, you know, where you are and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's beneficial in that way. So, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to share it. Okay, 1 second. So you'll see the app. Okay, so here is what the app looks like. So, you know, I've got events. So if you've got your, you know, your local events going on, stand in the park, things like that, you know, I've got the stand in the park thing here as well, you know.
Okay.
So I had prepared that a long time ago. Freedom parties, let's see what you might know about. This is the Freedom Hubs.
Yeah.
you know, so like you have on other websites, I'm sure, you know, that's the events section.
Do you populate that, or do people populate that?
People populate that, yeah. So people populate that. I mean, I'm doing it at the moment as well as like my assistant. Freedom map. This is the bit that is the important one. So if you had the power to know who's close to you, that is on the app, and you know, in your vicinity, who is a freedom-minded person that you can message, you know, to get them together.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
just to stop you there, Yogi.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is when you message somebody,
Mhm.
there's no alert. They
No,
don't
I know.
that-
Yeah, there is
Pardon?
no alert at the moment, Roger. Everything is possible, but I know my bank balance is not that big. So, you know, there's things that need to be done, you know, to help
So
things
you could
along.
organise that, but you need some
Yeah,
money.
everything is possible. Yeah, absolutely. So that's why the app is, I'm working on the app, because when it's the app, you can do notifications easier. So then the technology allows you to be able to use notifications.
Yeah.
So then you can, like, if you have a call to action that's put up, like this is the call to action. So I'll just show you very quickly what there is on the app. So here you have a news section. So here it's like all the stuff on all the best of Telegram, let's say. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Best of Telegram. So you don't have to scroll through hundreds of, you know, messages and hundreds of groups to find everything in that sense. You have the call to action, the resources section, which is like science, all the science that's come out, that's on Telegram, on Dr. Tess Laurie's channel, and, you know, Robin Minote and all these people and other things. It's all there, all the studies and links to studies and whatever else, you know. So the common law section, so action, call to action section is the important one for you. So if there's a action to be done, CBDC consultation, people need to, you know, fill out a petition, this one, for example, you know, all that kind of stuff. Now, the government could be playing all sorts of tricks. When you go to the website, their website, they could easily say, oh, we only got 60,000 signatures. But 1 million people might have visited that website, the petition one, and you won't know. And you can't audit that. You know, you have to go on trust. So here, if you went through this app, as in like if everybody went through Freedom Tribe and said, okay, petition to sign, go through Freedom Tribe and do it. So then we can monitor, okay, 1 million people saw it here, but only 70,000 saw it on the actual official website. Why is that? What happened there? You know, where did all those other people signatures go? You know, that type of stuff. So you got better chance of keeping accountability on that level. So you can tell once you've done an action, you can just mark it up that I've done that action, you know, sign that petition, done it. You could do this on Sunday morning. All the petitions that are relevant to us, you could knock out, 1 million people could knock that out in 10 minutes.
Okay.
2 or 3 petitions. So that's a call to action section. You have the messaging. So if I wanted to message people locally to me, so maybe it's your stand in the park group, you know, or your local people, for example. So near to me. So if I go to near to me, all the people that are near to me in 10-mile radius are all here. So, you know, if I want to message somebody I know, I can chat to them and so on. So there's some work to be done. You know, it's not the end product, because I can only do so much with my, you know, resources, of course. Natural health listing, so that's like typical, you know, other directories. People, you know, if you're doing therapy or anything like that, you know, you can do that.
Yogi, how easy would it be to create a sort of skin over this for the love party, love movement?
Well, everything is possible. It just needs a little bit of, you know, work and a bit of time. It's all possible, but yeah, that's to be discussed, I guess. Yeah. So common law, everything on law. Common law videos.
How are you monetizing this at the moment, Yogi? You were saying about not having the resources. I mean, what's your monetary financial model?
Well, my model is a very simple one, 90%. So this is the thing, Rachel. When I wrote to you, I don't know how well you read my, you know, email. But the monetization model, basically, I offered investment. I offered, you know, lots of things on that. There are 2 or 3 different options. But the monetization model is that the Love Party could lease it, or whoever could just lease it, you know. But the leasing is that I get 10% of the revenue.
I don't
And
even think that I've seen that email. I remember you sending me some personal emails a long time ago with some stuff
yeah,
you've been doing.
I can forward the original email, maybe
Yeah.
that
Could you send that to the
Love Party email.
I think it's vote@love-party.co.uk, isn't it? Our email address.
Okay,
Should
vote
know that
at
by heart.
love.
I'm pretty sure it's vote@love-party.co.uk.
Okay, I'll find that email.
Yeah, please
Okay.
send that to us, because what's springing to mind is that if we could have a sort of access into this back end and a sort of love movement aspect to it, should we put it like that? It could be, yes, as you say, a very good way to corral this the network, but our feeling is that it's local people meeting locally, which is already happening, and corralling that.
So the benefit you have here is that you can easily, so you're online to be offline. That's the model.
Yes.
For action, for activism. Yes. Yeah. So, but it's not either or, but it's like you have the ability to connect with your local people through the app, and to stand in the parks and stuff like that. But now it's a little bit easier, to be able to do it, because you can have your online stand in the park effectively, right? It's basically, or Zoom call, that's what it is, right? Zoom call. Yeah. But having people on a map now, if everybody joined, you don't know who's in your movement in your street. You have no idea who's next door to you that is actually already in the movement or thinking like you.
Yeah. One of the things which, the reason why I'm saying about putting a skin over it is one of the things that Simon raised, who is one of our Beacons candidates, is he was saying that he felt that we needed to really be much wider than the freedom movement, in that it could be off-putting for all those people who feel that they're potentially part of an activist movement, as opposed to just heart-centered individuals who want to bring the heart back into politics, or who are wanting a change in the way that we run things, but they're not militant activist kind of things, and they probably wouldn't want to be associated with something that felt like it was activism.
I think everything has a time and its place, and when you're up against the big beast with small numbers, you need to be activist. There's a difference. When you're a little bit bigger and you have a message to distribute, now you've got to change your strategy, and if you're going to get more people on board, your messaging has to be different, and so on. So it's a case of the app I created, because it's like we don't have leverage of the police, leverage of the military, leverage of the NHS or doctors, leverage of anything, financial, banking system, or anything like that. So now the only leverage, why do people say numbers? We have to do things in numbers, because that's our leverage. And if you don't sign a petition in numbers, it's not going to get anywhere or seen anywhere. If you don't go and stick or do a rally with numbers, it's not going to get the leverage, pressure that you can put on the other side. So that is the difference between using technology to your advantage, because we don't have any leverage on any other means. Facebook is owned by them, Telegram is owned by them, and so on. And they don't really care whether you're on these apps. All they care about is you don't get off your butt and go and do something productive. They're happy to have you disjointed and be 100 different organizations. It's the organization that they worry about. If they have any worry.
Equally, hold on. I'm just going to bring back our screen, because let's aim to wind up this call shortly. But just to sort of play devil's advocate on this, equally, I personally believe they love us to be on digital. They love us to be on our phones. They don't want us meeting in person in groups, because this is how all revolutions sort of work, through freedom cells, and like the resistance in the war, for example, little groups.
I get that, Rachel. I get that 100%.
That can't be monitored. So I totally get that.
I get that 100%. But what is your leverage? Do you have a gun? Do you have the military on your side? Do you have? We don't have any of the tools that are different.
Our leverage is God. We have God on our side.
Technology
we have the powers of visioning and imagination, and we have the powers of magical, metaphysical intention and the power of being able to co-create. And I know for a fact how powerful that is. So digital is not the only tool. I just want to put that out there.
No. I've never said it's the only tool. My whole mission was to be online, to be offline.
Yeah.
But you cannot do that if you don't know where your next door neighbor, whether they're part of the movement or not, or the person down the street. You can't do that without knowing that.
Well,
And
I have to say, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, Yogi, because having built a multi-million turnover market leading business from literally zero digital, completely analog, complete word of mouth, all that was needed was a really cool brochure, because people would take it to their friends and say, have you seen this? And they'd share it. And it was member get member. And so it's people.
That's perfect, Rachel. That's perfect. Why haven't we done that? Why haven't we done that as yet? That's
because I tell you for why, and I think that Simon really hit the nail on the head, is that because the freedom movement, and I get this when, like with the Bakewell one, because it's seen as an activist sort of freedom movement fighting against the system, people are reticent to be visibly involved in it. Whereas if it was basically heart-centered people awakening consciousness, wanting to put the heart back into the way we live, that is a much gentler place.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
To stand for love, because if you then suddenly say we stand for love and heart-centered people, we just want to attract heart-centered people and we stand for love.
Yeah.
Then you take it out of the realm of conspiracy theory and activism, and you put it into the realm of, I can resonate with that. And
yeah, but I agree with you. But what's been missing, I'll share my view on it, is that we haven't identified the problem to the masses in the right way. Like every marketing pitch is like, you have to present the problem and then the solution, right? So the problem that we've been presenting is, oh, the government is doing this or it wants to jab everybody. But the thing is that the resistance we have is that the other people, I figured this out in my 15 reasons that I sent you, is that we were both fighting for the same thing. We wanted safety away from the jab. The other people wanted safety with the jab. Now that's a hard one because it's the same action that everybody wants from that, right? The safety aspect of it. So the government's pitch was that the safety with the jab, and our pitch was there's no safety with the jab, and so on. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you've watched any of these webinars, sales webinars and things like that, they say, have you lost your hair, or have you noticed that you need to do this or that or whatever. So the question prompting hasn't been the right one. It should be like, do you know that we are under a tyranny? And it'd be like, oh really? Why? Or was some question, thought-provoking question. So what I've got in the Constitution is questions,
Can I just
have you had enough of government tyranny?
So Yogi, so let's just go to Roger. What did you want to say, Roger?
Well, I just wanted to say that I've written to Sunak, asking him to tell me if my version of the Constitution is correct or not. And I referred to a book which I had somewhere, which is not here now. Anyway, I've got a small book, and the author says that this is the actual Constitution. And I've asked, does he agree with this? And if he doesn't, then he's got to rebut the things he disagrees with. Otherwise, he acquiesces, and that is the Constitution. And he's got 40 days. And I've also sent an independent copy. In other words, it's not part of the same action, but I've sent an independent copy to the man called King Charles. Okay, I don't really like to call him king, but as far as I'm concerned, Jesus Christ is my king, not that hideous thing. Anyway, I sent him a copy, and of course, we tried the delay tactics. I sent to the official email, and it was returned. It was returned, couldn't deliver, so I had to send a Royal Mail envelope letter.
Recorded delivery.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Well
Oh
done.
no, just a minute. No, I didn't. No, I didn't
Yeah.
send it because I don't see any point. If they don't want to sign for something, they don't have to sign for it.
Yeah, but I mean, it is worth sending things like that, recorded delivery or signed delivery, because then you've got evidence that it was accepted at the other end, and so it might be worth resending. So it'd be
It's good
interesting
to
to
do that.
see, Roger, what happens in response to that. But I do want to come back on to this point about marketing, which is the core of this discussion. And I just want to respond to you, Yogi, because having been in marketing for, I don't know, like donkey's years, to me, there are two key ways to do marketing. There's push marketing and there's pull marketing, there's magnetic marketing.
Yeah.
And a sale, that basically push marketing, sales marketing, which is all those old techniques. Whereas my experience of what is far more powerful is magnetic marketing, which is like attracting bees to the honeypot. But what you really need for magnetic marketing to be super powerful, you need a really strong honeypot, because then it's effortless. So the key is creating the honeypot, and the honeypot is in the product or the message. And typically fear-based, listen, can I finish? Fear-based messages, which are based on there's this terrible problem and we need a solution, are not in resonance with if it's based on fear, then it is actually part of the false matrix. So what we want to create, this is my humble opinion, in terms of a very strong marketing message, has to be around what the vision of what we want to co-create, the vision of liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment. And that is what is going to attract, to me, that is what is going to attract people to come to that honeypot naturally, effortlessly, and to talk about it and share it and corral it. Because if we're in that place of fight and problem, reaction, solution, and fear-based marketing, which is typically sales is based on fear-based marketing, that is not the resonance of what is needed to create a magnetic honeypot solution. So I would always favor the magnetic marketing route.
Okay, I agree with you 100% on that. That is true. However, at the same time, can I share this Constitution leaflet that I made with Will? That was kind of the right asking the right questions, because some topics are heavy. You know that, yeah. So this whole freedom thing is a heavy topic, right? Pedophilia is a heavy topic. All these things are heavy topics, so they require a different way of approaching things. But this is just like the questions that we need to kind of think about in your marketing, right? As in, like, if you just do pull-based marketing, oh, we're all about love and hugs or whatever, then is that going to get people the reality of why they need to be in the love and hug movement, because we're trying to get away from the fear-based things and the nasty things in the world, let's say, but is that going to stop it? That's a question we have to ask ourselves as well. So here, this leaflet, have you had enough of government overreach? Now, people might be saying, well, there's no government overreach. I'm fine with my life. I've got, so you need to highlight the problem to them. What is the actual problem? So the next question I've got is, are you paying attention to what is going on with your human rights? Then that might prompt something in their head like, oh, really? Human rights? I've got human rights in this country. Maybe that's China, But then there's some other questions, right? So do you know we have a constitution defined by Magna Carta? So it's bringing in all these elements that need to be brought in, because people don't know their history, Can the government do whatever it wants? Now, that's another question to prompt people like, okay, well, yeah, maybe, maybe not. Do you know the difference between legal and lawful? Do you agree with unlawful restrictions on movement under the guise of climate change and greater good? So it's prompting all these thinking, things in their head. Do you know your unalienable rights? People be like, what? Unalienable? Let me Google that. What's that about? So there's going to be elements to that marketing funnel, or, the way that you attract people to you. So there is some fear that needs to be put there as well to get them to the honeypot. Like, how do you stop government overreach, which could be criminal, wars, forcing jabs, detaining people? Is
So-
that a fear-based, or
All
is
right,
that
so imagine another thing, which is imagine a world where everyone is healthy. Imagine a world where everyone has abundance of prosperity flowing. Just simple messages like that.
most people might say I'm healthy?
I think you'll find that most people are struggling. So you take a place where people are struggling and you say, imagine imagine it, everyone being in radiant health. And health is the big three are money, love, and health, typically in that order. Like if you were
That's the pull marketing. Yeah, okay, fine. But if we're in a dire situation, if you're in a dire situation, like let's say we're in Ukraine, right? You got tanks coming across your border or something like that, right? And then have you got time to do like love-based marketing? Imagine anything? No, but we're in a war. A lot of people will say that we're in a war at the moment. So yes, you can do the pull marketing. I'm not saying you can't. That is part of it. But there's also got to be to get the normies to wake up. How do you stop government overreach? They may have never thought about government overreach. What is it? Is it criminal? Wars, are they criminal? No. It's justified. Ukraine is justified. Iraq was justified to them, to some of them. Or maybe they don't, 10 years on, they know it was lies,
Unfortunately, Yogi, we're going to have to be slightly at different places on this.
Yeah, which is okay.
And I just really just feeding into
So the question is, how much time do you have? Because they're pushing down hard on everything, WEF and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm sorry, I'm just not in this fear-based, fight-based place.
Okay.
I'm just not. I know the power of visioning and intention and inspiration and expansion. And I on principle do not wish to infect the world with more fear.
Not
It's
fear. This would lead them into the
fundamentally
love-based
diametrically opposed to what I feel our values are about. Is that so many people are using fear to peddle their stuff, and it is irresponsible and it is manipulative. And as a party or as a movement which is about love and heart-centered, it's by definition, it's about expansion, it's about resonance, it's about vision, it's about intention, it's about co-creation, it's about friendship, it's about corralling people with the highest intention for the good of all. And so to me, that is the place. If we can create from that place, that has to be the juice and the honey that will naturally, because once you get that right, I just know this from having done it, once you get that core honeypot right, the marketing is effortless, because it just attracts people in. Really, it's just like, it's totally effortless. It's so I personally would not, and thank you for clarifying this on this call. On a personal level, I would not personally wish to be connected with anything that used lower vibrational states to manipulate a response. Totally, absolutely against that. I feel that we should be holding a higher level of using visioning and intention tools. Otherwise, we're no better than everything else in the false matrix, truly, So anyway, thank you for coming on, Yogi. I'm conscious of time. We've been going on for 90 minutes now.
Okay.
This recording will go into it may well go into the wider members movement. Are we happy for that to go into the wider group, Roger, Yogi?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Roger, I think you're mute, sweetie.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Are you muted, I think?
Roger?
Yeah, now you can hear me.
Are you happy for this to go public?
Yes, of course.
Okay, cool. Because then it will have a much bigger reach, and I can then I'll put it on Rachel Speaks Out, because I think that what I was trying to say about like small and large is actually small groups discussing strategy. It's kind of like creating a seed. It's like sculpting like a strategy, because when you get the strategy right, then it's like a seed that is planted. It's like a perfect seed planted in fertile soil that has the potential to like grow. And if you can get that seed perfectly formed, so that a lot of intention into like creating the magic, because if that magic is created in the most perfect way, then once that seed is planted, then it's like Jack and the Beanstalk. Think of Jack's magic beans that suddenly grow into this huge beanstalk. That's kind of a nice way to think of it. So so thank you for coming on. And my sense is that your app that you have created could be the basis of an organizational tool to create this offline movement, so that we have the best and a digital organizational tool, but that the heart of it is people, human to human contact, which is already happening anyway, and it's just a way of organizing that.
What I was going to add to that, Rachel, I mean, I don't know if this is worth continuing to record with, or whether to do it as a conversation afterwards. But in terms of the monetization model, I mean, how do you attract people to, because without resources you're very much at a disadvantage, let's say, ultimately. So I've come up with different concepts. I've come up with concepts for do or donate. That is my concept. Do or donate. This kind of thing.
Conscious contributions. I mean, let's create conscious contributions, but let's work out how much that would create to put in place. And
one of the things with the app was that, say people joined for like £10 or something. My intention, if you read my 15 reasons, was that set up a legal fund, set up a medical fund, set up a awareness building fund, outreach fund, that type of thing. So the areas that we struggle in, let's say, where would you go for a blood transfusion if you had an accident? God forbid, somebody had an accident, is not vaxxed. We don't have anywhere. Dr. Tess Laurie and those guys, I don't know if there's any solutions as yet. Not really, as far as I can see. So I don't know what's holding people back from having that solution or providing that solution. I'm sure there's a lot of things, technically or legally and all that kind of stuff.
These are all things that could be built into the charter. The right to have pure blood.
Yeah,
that could be a very simple part. Yeah. I mean, because I think, Roger, this charter that this We the People charter of the rights could encapsulate all of these basic rights. The right if you have an accident to have emergency service, the right if you need a blood transfusion to be able to opt for pure unvaccinated blood. For example, all of these, the right to have access to natural living water, the right to have access to local organic vegetables, the right to have access to free energy, all of these things that are
probably right to have some land, or like food growing land, whether it's
the right for every community to have access to common land to grow, to come together. So it's a bit like taking allotments into the community. The right for every community to be able to have communal land to grow organic vegetables to supply the local community. Absolutely. So all these things that can form a core of a We the People charter or rights or constitution that is for the 21st century, not written in 1215 or whenever the Magna Carta was created. So like this is what's being called for now. And it's not one person writing it. This is a team effort. So it's like in your app, it's like, okay, what are the things you would want in the Constitution or your local group or for your local area? What are the key things, so that we corral the people and we engage the people in writing the People's Charter? And then we have representatives who go in for election on the basis of that People's Charter in the next general election. And they're going in on to represent the people, and they're all heart-centered people who are driven by love. Nothing
I
else.
think we should have a Zoom meeting of the beacons to discuss what we want and what way we're going to formulate this charter.
Yeah,
You know,
Okay.
before London, before we
Yeah,
go to Westminster.
absolutely. Anyway, this is really good, but I do need to close this call now because we've been going on quite some time and I've got other things to attend to. So thank you,
Thank you, Rachel,
on, Roger,
yeah.
and thank you, Yogi.
No, thank you as well, Rachel.
I'll make this available to the public, if that's okay.
Okay. That's okay with me.
Hopefully people will join the app either way, you know, and we can talk about the, you know, reskinning or something like that as well.
Cool. Okay, lots of love.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Speak to you soon. Bye for now.